Angel Reese, the basketball player, is a hard-to-figure mix of extreme strength and pathetic weakness.
Is the rivalry between Angel Reese and Caitlin Clark even real, or are we just buying into hype? Caitlin Clark is a once-in-a-generation star, dominating games with elite shooting and vision, while Angel Reese is struggling to score, even near the basket. So why is this comparison being pushed so hard? Stick around as we expose the startling stats and major differences that reveal one is lifting the league, and the other might be holding her squad back.
Everybody that follows basketball, women's basketball, everybody knows this. Angel Reese is a nightmare to play with. There's a reason why the Chicago Sky may end up the worst team in the WNBA.
Angel Reese recently broke a rebounding record. Sounds amazing, right? But does pulling down rebounds alone make her a franchise cornerstone? That's where the debate gets serious. While she might shine on the boards, glaring holes in the rest of her skill set keep her from becoming the dominant player her media hype would have you believe.
Angel looked pretty sorry, as she often does. Just being honest. I mean, as a post player, shooting a lot of point-blank shots at the rim, last year Angel made only 39% of her shots, which ranked 50th of 55 players, and she's a post player.
Let's talk about her shooting, or more accurately, the lack of it. With Reese's size and role, you'd expect her to dominate in the paint, but the numbers tell a different story. This season, she's shooting a brutal 30.9% from the field. Out of 64 qualifying players, she ranks 63rd. That means almost every other player is scoring more efficiently, even those with less size and strength.
And this year she's even worse. Through 7 games, she's 30.9% from the floor. That ranks 63rd out of 64 qualified, and a lot of her shots are right around the rim. That is impossibly bad.
Even when Angel gets scoring chances, converting them is a struggle. And that's a serious concern for someone expected to anchor the offense. One telling example? Her game against the Indiana Fever. Sure, she grabbed 12 rebounds, but she only managed to score 4 points. For a player whose job is to dominate the paint, that's simply not enough.
Angel wound up with a grand total of 4 points on 2 out of 7. Didn't shoot a single free throw.
What that tells us is simple. Reese can dominate the glass all night, but if those boards don't lead to extra points or help swing momentum, what's the real value? It's the definition of empty stats, numbers that look shiny but don't impact wins. Think of it like this. Her rebounding is like an expert drummer in a band playing a bad song. The skill is there, but it can't carry the whole performance.
Once that next year happened, and you saw Angel Reese, I think she played against Carmela Cardosa, and was like, holy cow, she can't get her shot off. And that's when the lights went off for me, like, oh, this woman's horribly unskilled.
Reese's rebounding style does echo Dennis Rodman's prime, full of energy and positioning over sheer size. But here's the difference. Rodman's boards sparked second-chance opportunities and boosted his team. With Reese, the rebounds often seem disconnected from the game flow. She controls the glass, but lacks the scoring or playmaking to turn them into momentum. Her impact feels limited to just one lane.
Des, I know people were saying, oh, she's like more like Denise Rodman. Oh, she's like Dennis Rodman of the WNBA, more like Denise Rodman of the WNBA.
Now here's why this really matters. When your center can't finish around the rim, it throws off your entire offense. Defenders can leave Reese open and camp in the paint, clogging up space for everyone else. And when she can't make them pay for that gamble, the defense wins. Teams are fine taking their chances, knowing Reese likely won't capitalize, even in spots where she should.
And what she's not saying, but what she's implying is, which is factual, Angel Reese doesn't make anyone better. Everybody knows this.
Reese's lack of efficiency affects the entire team and stalls offensive rhythm. Excelling in just one area, even if that's rebounding, simply isn't enough. If a player doesn't contribute in multiple facets of the game, they aren't truly helping the team succeed. That's what separates role players from franchise stars. Elite players impact everything. They draw defenders, create spacing, keep ball movement alive, and make everyone around them better.
Flau'jae Johnson, or whatever the little rapper that plays for LSU, her and Angel Reese don't even get along. They don't like each other. They're not friends because everybody hated playing with Angel Reese.
Right now, Reese feels more like a role-specific player than someone you build a roster around. Sure, rebounding is vital, but without adding scoring, playmaking, or floor spacing, the modern game will quickly leave you behind. Despite all her hustle on the boards, Reese hasn't developed into the kind of complete athlete that can carry a franchise.
No, it's because Angel Reese sucks all the air out of the room and is a nightmare to play with because she has no self-awareness. Everybody knows this.
So what's the bottom line? Rebounding will always be Reese's strong suit, but it's not enough to make her a foundational piece on a championship team. To earn that status, she needs to expand her offensive tools. And when you stack her up next to someone like Caitlin Clark, who influences every aspect of the game, the difference becomes crystal clear.
Different universes, but Angel Reese is actually an embarrassment for women's basketball. She is so unskilled. There are so many laughable videos. She's become a meme and a punchline.
Caitlin Clark isn't just skilled. She transforms the entire dynamic the moment she checks in. That's the gap between her and Angel Reese. Clark's impact makes her teammates sharper, which is why she's in a class of her own. Whether it's scoring, passing, or creating space, she dominates all areas, making her a complete and rare basketball presence.
Now they're suddenly an independent. Now suddenly people are noticing that Angel Reese is nowhere near the skill level of Caitlin Clark.
Let's look at Clark's passing. It's truly next level. Candace Parker described her vision as freakish. And that's no exaggeration. Clark doesn't just find open teammates, she delivers the ball where they can thrive. Whether it's a laser through traffic or a pinpoint transition pass, her playmaking keeps defenses off balance, and her team in rhythm.
I'm not sure anybody has ever paid to see rebounding. Logo threes and magic passes, yeah, they will pay like crazy to watch Caitlin Clark. They'll pack NBA-sized arenas to watch Caitlin Clark.
But Clark's influence isn't limited to assist totals. Her smart decisions constantly lead to quality shot attempts for the team. How many players can say they bring that every game? In contrast, while Reese does give her team second chances with offensive boards, she doesn't create for others in any meaningful way. Her game rarely sparks movement or opportunity beyond her own stats.
Well, you know, there was another guy who said that it was an absolute insult if you're going to make this about a basketball comparison between Angel Reese and Caitlin Clark, that it's an insult to Caitlin Clark.
Reese's lack of passing vision means she can't initiate plays, forcing others to carry the offensive burden. That's why her numbers don't result in the same kind of team lift that Clark provides. Sure, rebounding helps, but it's not the same as having someone who reads the floor, sets up others, and still remains a scoring threat themselves.
Candace Parker just said it nicely and politely. Everybody loves to play with Caitlin Clark.
Now let's talk scoring. Clark's ability to shoot is almost unfair. Whether she's launching deep threes or breaking down defenders off the dribble, she scores with precision. Her shooting range alone stretches defenses, which not only creates points, but opens up the floor for everyone around her. Her presence forces opponents into impossible decisions.
I love the fact that she's calling BS on the Caitlin Clark Angel Reese deal. She very subtly and politely is like, hey, Caitlin Clark makes her teammates better.
Now compare that to Reese, who consistently struggles to finish near the rim. This isn't about effort, it's about execution. The contrast between these two players in offensive production is massive. With Clark, you'll always see moments that directly lead to wins. Her instincts and IQ allow her to shift roles during games, from scorer to facilitator and back again, depending on what her team needs.
That kind of obvious about 3 years ago, regardless of the LSU, Iowa result. So now we're just noticing that they're not the same player, they're not the same caliber, they're not the same skill level.
With Reese, you don't get that versatility. Despite all her boards and hustle plays, she lacks the polish to make consistent, high-level decisions. Meanwhile, every move Clark makes seems to elevate her team's play. So the question remains, why is there still a debate? Stats, highlights, leadership, they all point to the same conclusion. Clark isn't just talented, she's redefining dominance.
There was obviously, many of us recognize that from the get-go. But when Angel Reese won the championship at LSU, it kind of gave a slight justification for there to be an argument.
Reese, on the other hand, seems stuck in place. A player with flashy stats that don't actually elevate her team. Her game looks strong on the surface, but doesn't translate to winning basketball. The Reese-Clark comparison feels driven entirely by headlines and media narrative, and that's an entirely different conversation.
When it gets to the WNBA, it's really going to show up. But yeah, it's been obvious for a while they're on different planets. But it's not even just they're on different planets.
Why does this Caitlin Clark versus Angel Reese narrative keep getting forced when their on-court play tells a different story? If you've really watched the games, it's obvious. Media loves building rivalries. It adds drama and keeps audiences tuned in. But sometimes the hype doesn't match what's happening. This is one of those cases.
There's obviously no way Angel can compare to Caitlin Clark as a shooter or a passer. And there is no way Angel can live up to her dynamic social media / podcast presence as a shooter or a passer or even a shot blocker.
This so-called feud between Clark and Reese seems more like marketing than competition. Reese is definitely a personality. With her rise on social media and frequent podcast spots, she's become a recognizable figure. That charisma naturally brings eyes to her. And it's a big reason she's become a prominent name outside the game itself.
And because she talks a lot and complains a lot and self-promotes a whole lot, she's going to open herself up to lots and lots of criticism.
It's honestly easy to cheer for someone who's built a strong public image. But here's the catch. While her branding has made her a fan favorite, it hasn't turned into consistent success on the hardwood. This season especially, her weaknesses have stood out, and her reputation as a rising star begins to crumble under the actual performance.
People keep trying to run her out there like she's the best and the brightest. At some point, enough is going to be enough, and you think these girls would wise up and be like, this woman's actually a problem for us. She diminishes the game. Caitlin Clark elevates the game.
Let's call it what it is. Reese hasn't lived up to the hype on the floor. Caitlin Clark continues to raise the bar with every game, while Reese's play is leaving people scratching their heads. Some critics have even labeled her performance as embarrassing when compared to Clark. That's not just criticism. It reflects the huge gap between them.
Tournaments, she would actually go far, and she'd get to the very end. She just couldn't get over the top against really good, most elite players of all time. I don't believe that Angel Reese is even at that level.
Clark doesn't just make herself better, she elevates the entire team. Reese, on the other hand, often leaves fans wondering why this rivalry is even a conversation. Her game against Indiana is the perfect case study. 12 rebounds, yes, but just 4 points. Those stats tell you everything about the disconnect between impact and hype.
4 points, 12 rebounds, 2 assists in 27 minutes of action, a minus 23 turnovers as the Chicago Sky, without Caitlin Clark, without Sophie Cunningham, without Stephanie White, hope everything's okay, Steph, without those three, the Chicago Sky got slapped around on their home court.
For a player whose main job is to dominate inside, 4 points is more than just a letdown. It's a warning sign. Contrast that with Clark, who steps up when the pressure rises. She thrives in the spotlight and consistently delivers in must-win moments. That's what separates true stars from media darlings.
Obviously, Angel Reese was absolutely atrocious. 4 points in 27 minutes, along with 12 rebounds. The media likes to make a big deal about Angel Reese dominating the boards, but that's because it's the only thing she can do. Outside of rebounding and converting oxygen to carbon dioxide, Angel Reese is useless on the basketball court.
That Indiana game made one thing clear. Reese can put up stats, but when the team really needs her, she fades. The rivalry only exists because of who she is off the court. Her media presence, her brand, her voice. But here's the real question. How long can that image last if the performance doesn't match?
It helps for Caitlin to have a foil figure. Helps when you, Angel, play the villain role, when your Sky play her Fever. But foil figures don't draw by themselves. They need to play off superstar.
Brand recognition only takes you so far in pro sports. At some point, what you do on the court has to catch up. And for Reese, that hasn't happened. Meanwhile, Clark doesn't need a media machine to prove her value. Her game says it all. When you look at facts, stats, and impact, it's clear this rivalry doesn't hold up.
I could be wrong, Angel, but I'm not sure any kid has ever asked a parent to be taken to a game to see Angel Reese rebound.
The Clark versus Reese storyline is a product of media spin designed to spark interest. But when you dig deeper, it collapses. The truth? They're not even operating on the same level. The real debate isn't about comparing them. It's about whether Reese can grow her game before this entire rivalry fades into fiction.
Caitlin doesn't say much to the media, doesn't have much social media presence, but is she ever fun to watch? Is she ever captivating? Is she ever must-see TV? You never know what she might do next. She might make a 40-foot jump shot, or she might make a pass you've just never seen before.
Caitlin Clark is playing at a completely different level. No one can deny that. Her scoring, passing, and leadership lift her team to new heights. Meanwhile, Reese is still trapped by poor shot selection and limited skills. The difference couldn't be clearer. Clark leads while Reese still chases her own height.
For all your charisma and all your charm, all your highly entertaining social media presence, for all your runaway smash hit podcasting, if you can score only 4 against the Fever without Caitlin and look laughably bad doing so, you can't say you're playing as big a part in the WNBA's exploding ratings as Caitlin is. You just can't say that. You can't make that case.
So maybe the actual question isn't whether Reese can keep pace with Clark. It's whether she can evolve beyond the media noise around her and prove there's real substance behind her name. Time will reveal whether she breaks through or becomes another hype story without the game to back it up.